first loved growing up were Roald Dahl and C.S. Lewis and A Wrinkle in Time, Wind in the Willows, the Redwell series. So there's a solid, big place in my heart for books like that. So I've also written 2 middle grade books. The first is called Liesl and Poe, and here it is in beautiful paperback and beautiful hardcover. And Liesl and Poe is a story of a girl, a ghost, and a box containing the greatest magic in the world. And it's awesome, and you should read it. And then my newest middle grade is called The Spindlers, which is a creepy, cool adventure story. Kind of has Alice in Wonderland overtones, about a girl who has to go to a vast subterranean world, the world below, in order to save her brother's soul, which has been stolen by spider people named the Spindlers. And she meets like a crazy talking rat who wears a wig and a newspaper skirt, and she goes on this subterranean adventure and encounters all these crazy animal creature-like things. And it's also wonderful, and you should read it. The End by Lauren Oliver. And I'm doing actually, I intend to do both for my whole life. I mean, again, like I said, I'm also doing an adult book next year. I would really love to be able to do all 3, just depending on what the story is and whether I feel, what audience I feel it's best for. Thank you. Yeah?
You said you really love to read. Who are some of your favorite authors?
Roald Dahl. I'm glad you didn't ask me what my favorite book is because I hate that question because it's impossible. But I was on a group tour recently, and Claudia Gray, who's hilarious, and I really like her, she was like, it's like asking, what's the best time you ever breathed in oxygen? Which I think is a really good metaphor. But some of my favorite authors are Philip Pullman, Roald Dahl, Ian McEwan, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Jeffrey Eugenides, Agatha Christie. I'm an Agatha Christie freak. I've decided I told my sister this year, I was like, I've decided to get creepily obsessed with Agatha Christie. She's like, that's not usually a cognitive decision that you make, you know? And J.K. Rowling, although I was somewhat disappointed by her new book. And yeah, I mean a bunch. I'm always discovering new favorites though. I don't have a ton of favorites who are teen authors. I love a lot of teen books. I'm just getting into Cassandra Clare now, who I just saw was coming here, and of course I love John Green. But it's just because my favorites were usually people that I read early, like from an early age, and like I said, there really wasn't teen literature when I was growing up, so anyway. Yeah?
Are you going to be putting creative input into the Delirium TV series?
I have gotten to put creative input into it, yes. I'm actually very close with the producers. They're fabulous. And I got to read the script. I got to comment it. I mean, within bounds. I mean, there are certain things that Fox says that they have to do or whatever. But I definitely get to contribute. If it goes to air and it becomes a major, if 22 episodes per season, possibly another 22, possibly 7 seasons on, it will be great because I will get to pitch. I mean, at certain, like on episode 2 or 3, they're basically going to run out of material for my books. So I'll get to pitch what kind of happens next, but I'll also get to experience it as a fan too and see where they get to take the world. I'm obsessed with the cast. The boys are so cute. Okay, first of all, Greg Sulkin literally tweets me all the time. He's like, I'm so honored. I'm going to be in this show. He's so cute. Darren Hagstock, who's playing Alex, also did similar stuff, and he recently read Delirium. And if you remember that book well, a girl on Twitter was like, what's your favorite color? And he wrote gray, winky face. I was like, I love you. You're 23 and I love you.
Okay. Who's your favorite character?
I don't have a favorite character, but I'm really gonna miss Raven just because I felt like I was just getting into exploring her, and I think she's a really interesting character to me. Partly because she reminds me of my sister, who is both amazing and kind of frightening. And I did recently write a short story. I don't know if you guys know this, but I had written these 3 short stories that accompany Delirium. I don't know if we have them here. Oh, we don't. Yeah, Delirium stories. So those are out now in paperback. They were originally eat-only. Anyway, so one of them is from Raven's point of view, and I just was really surprised by how much I enjoyed writing her. So I will miss her a lot. But I don't have a favorite character. Yeah?
Is Alex based off of anyone in real life?
My fiance. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I based not on a person, person, but based on, I based it on him on experiences I remember from being in love for the first time, which happened for me right around the same time that Lena experiences it. And of course, characteristics that I find attractive in other people. So kind of a melange of different people I've known and dated and experiences I've had. I never really take a character from real life because you can't. It doesn't translate that way. You can't just overlay a person from real life onto a novel because a novel actually has its own independent life. Like, for example, I'd always intended to kill off a major character in Requiem, and that character just refused to die objectively when I was writing. So what could I do?
How do you choose the names?
Badly. I am very bad at picking names, as I am at titling, so he hates me, who cares, I do, tears and kisses should indicate. Yeah. I try to keep lists now. First of all, baby naming websites are great. I go to them all the time. But I try to keep lists now of names that appeal to me. It's easier for me I don't have trouble really titling the main character names because the main characters kind of appear to you and introduce themselves. Like, I have no idea where. Actually, no, I do know where Lena came from. My friend Magda, Lena, was like, you have to write a book about a girl named Magdalena because the only Magdalenas in literature are Polish housekeepers. So I don't have usually trouble with the main characters. Before I Fall, I had so much trouble with the ancillary characters that I just went in and I just put real people from my high school. I just used real names. And it was like about to go to print, and my editor was like, you did what? She's like, so this book takes place in a high school that's closely modeled on your high school with real people's names. No. So yeah, I'm trying to get better at keeping lists and stuff like that.
It seems like when a book goes to either TV or movie, there's so many big changes. Is that hard for you?
No. I mean, it's actually, I think, harder for my fans. I mean, I feel like my work is the books. Like, my books are the books, and my work is the books. And also, if something goes to TV or film, more and more people will discover the books. If something changed, so if it were tonally completely different, like if it didn't inspire the same feelings and try to achieve the same ends, then yes, I would have a problem with it. Like, Before I Fall was rewritten as a romantic comedy, I would have a problem. However, in order for it, because it's a completely different medium, in order for it, for example, to inspire feelings of, passion and fear and joy and adventure and excitement, it has to change substantially. That's particularly true when it comes to TV. The medium is so different. But as long as it's inspiring the same kind of, preserving the same kind of voice, for lack of a better word, then no, I don't care.
Why don't you believe in writer's block?
Oh, good, you reminded me. Because writer's block is, there's like no other profession in the world where you could just be like, you know what, I just don't feel, it's not coming today. You know what I mean? Like you can't just show up, your contract, you can't just show up and be like, yeah, I see where the drywall needs to go, but okay. I mean, I don't believe in it because it's hard to write. I often feel a natural resistance to writing. It was really, really hard for me to write today. I was exhausted. I just wrote yesterday. I hadn't done a lot of the cognitive work I needed to do, so when I sat down, I really didn't know what was coming next, which is what makes it really hard. But those are not excuses. It's not being blocked. It's just like you don't feel like it. You don't think that what you're going to write is going to be good. And the truth is, you don't have to feel like it, and what you write doesn't have to be good. You can have days where you write really bad stuff. Most of the time, though, you have days where you think you're writing really bad stuff, and then you look back and you're like, it's not that bad, or at least a quarter of it is good, or whatever. It's a mental thing. It's a mental indulgence. I think it's what happens when the critical voice drowns out the voice of your story. You just have to silence the critical voice. The only time that I think it could happen is if you reach a point, if you've made a really bad choice early on, you reach a point in your story, like a maze. Like, there are cases where, let's say, for example, you kill off your main character in chapter 3, you're going to be very blocked going forward. So that may be, you have to revisit deeper changes. You should still be able to work every day. You should still be able to do it every day.
We have time for one more question.
You pick. I can't.
Oh, I know, the pressure, right? Okay, who has the best question? Everyone's like, no, not me. Okay, I see that hand first, so.
Do you have advice for
Yeah, I do. I have several pieces of advice, and then actually right before we end, I'm just going to briefly also tell you what's coming up next for me, so you have it in your mind. My advice is pretty simple. You don't need any. One time I was at an event and a little kid was like, "What qualifications do you need to be a writer?" And I was like, "Absolutely zero," which is what makes it great. But that's not totally true. You need two things, and you only need two things, but they're non-negotiable. You need to read a lot, and you need to write a lot. You need to sit down and write. You'll probably write 10,000 bad pages before you get, or 3 or 4. Most writers have 3 or 4 bad novels before they get a great one. So my advice is just to practice. Don't stress if it's not going right now. If you're a teen author, don't worry about publication right now. Wait until you're 22 and you have a ton of pages behind you, and then you can worry about being published, and you'll still be the youngest person, and everybody will hate you. So yeah, again, like anything else, make time to do it. It's just as important as anything else. I always say this too, but I make time and I value time, and I always did even before I was getting paid for it. Like if I had a super busy day, when I wrote Before I Fall, I had a full-time job, I was a full-time graduate student, and I had a part-time job in a nightclub. And the only time that I had to write was on the train. So I wrote most of that book on my BlackBerry, on the subway, and then emailed it to myself. There's always time to write, and you need to carve it out. Still, if I have a super busy day, and I'm at a dinner, let's say, I will just make excuses to keep going to the bathroom and type up. And people either think I have a digestive disorder or a drug problem. But you know what? It works, and I got my writing done. So that's my advice. And before I say thank you for having me and listening so well, and before we do the signing, I should just say, so I'm really sad that the Delirium series is over. But hopefully it will live on the TV. And next year, I have 2 very exciting books coming up. One of them in the spring is called Panic. It's a realistic, it's a realistic teen fiction book told from alternating perspectives, a girl and a boy, which I've never done before. And it's about a small town where they play a really dangerous game every summer. And at the end of the summer, the winner takes the pot. And it's awesome, and you should read it. And then in the fall, I have an adult book coming out. And unless you're really young, it's probably appropriate for teens too. It's called Rooms. And it's about a story of a family, but it's narrated mostly from the ghosts that live in the walls of this house. So you should read both of them. Anyway, thank you so much.